Okay, now we're on Chapter 1, Lesson 8, Relate Multiplication to Division. Use multiplication and the distributive property to find the quotient, in which we perform operations with multi-digit whole numbers and with decimals to hundredths. So, since the directions is asking us to use the distributive property, before we even begin the actual assignment, let's look at the distributive property. The distributive property is another way of looking at multiplication. So let's take 27 times 6. Instead of thinking of it as 27 times 6 and doing the procedure that we did during 1-7, what it's asking us to do now is to break it down into smaller parts, or to decompose it. So we're going to take the 6 here, and then we're going to put it onto the side because that's the one digit, and we're going to break down 27 into its tens and its ones. So it has 27. So here all we did was we took the 6, the single digit, and we put it on here. And then we took the 27 and we broke it down to its tens and its ones. So 6 times 27. So we started with 6 times 27. And the reason why we could do 27 times 6 and flip it is because of the commutative property of multiplication, in which we can switch the factors, but the product or the answer remains the same. And now for the second step, we're saying 6 times 27 is the same as 6 times 20 plus 7, because 20 plus 7 is 27. And so that right there is the first step. Taking the single digit and putting it here, and then breaking down the 27 into tens and ones, 27. 6 times 27 is the same as 6 times 20 plus 7, 27. Now the next step is we're going to multiply the 6 by each of the factors. But 6 times 20, and that'll give us that portion right here. And then 6 times 7. So keep in mind we're multiplying 6 times 27, so we did 6 times 20 and 6 times 7. And the thing that goes in between these two will be a plus sign. So the next step is to take 6 times 20 and add it to 6 times 7. Let's look at how that looks. 6 times 27 is the same as 6 times 20 plus 7, the tens and the ones. And it's the same as saying 6 times 20, 6 times 7 added together. 6 times 27. And you can see here that 20 plus 7 equals 27, and we're multiplying 6 by that 27. Now all we have left to do is to multiply the 6 and the 2, which is 12, and add 1 0. And to multiply the 6 by the 7, which is 42. So 6 times 20 is 120, and 6 times 7 is 42. Now, when we combine these two answers by adding them together, then we get the final total. 162. And if you can't do this in your head and you tend to make mistakes, there's no shame in going 120 plus 42, 0 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 1 plus 0. I was just looking at it thinking these are my tens and these are my ones, but if you need to, do not be ashamed to write it out. So our final answer is 162. 6 times 27 is 162. And we got that by saying 6 times 27 is the same as 6 times 20 plus 7. Breaking down that 27. 6 times 20 plus 6 times 7. And then saying 6 times 20 is 120. 6 times 7 is 42. And adding those two answers up. 6 times 27 equals 162. Now, that's fine and dandy, but this one is asking us to use the distributive property to help us solve a division problem rather than a multiplication problem. And so we're going to have to use this as a template to figure out where we get the numbers, but we're going to have to think of one extra step. So it's kind of applying this into, instead of just solving the answer. So let me break it down a little bit more. Let's start with number 1, where I'm not going to show you what it says here, but let's start with number 1. 70 divided by 5 equals, and right now, since they told you the answer, let me leave it blank here. Think about division for a second. If we think about division, it's the inverse of multiplication. So if we do 12 divided by 3 equals 4, we can also say 3 times 4 equals 12, correct? So if we're looking at this problem, 70 divided by 5 equals blank, we could say this times this equals 70. So instead we could think of it as 5 times, we don't know yet, that's what we're trying to solve, equals 70. Now when you look at 5 times blank equals 70, it's looking a little bit closer to this one right here. So before we get too far, I'll ask you, if you were to see 5 times blank, how would you start that off in our distributive property box? Well, you would take 5 and you'd put it on the side. Then you would take this number and break it down by its tens and ones. But unfortunately, we don't know what that number is. So since we don't know what that number is, we need to fill in a number for now. And since we want to break it down to its tens and its ones, let's try multiplying it by 10 first. If we think 5 times 10 is 50, that's a good guess. Now let's see what happens if we put 20 in there. 5 times 20 is, in case you don't know, 100. And 100 is more than 70, so that doesn't work. So if we do 5 times 10 equals 50, that works. 5 times 20 is too much. So right now, we don't know what the answer is, but we do know that 10 might play a part in it. So let's do the first step. If we know that 10 can go here, we're saying 5 times 10 equals 50. And that's what we know so far. We're just filling in this first box. And we're filling it in by breaking up the tens and the ones. And although we don't know what tens goes here, we do know that 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 20 is 100, and that's too much. So we're going to use 5 times 10. And so far, 5 times 10 is 50. The other thing we know is that this number plus this number needs to equal the total. So you can see that the 120 plus the 42 equals the 162. Well, we need to do the same thing here. 50 plus this number needs to equal 70. So 50 plus what number will make 70? And if you don't know, then you could subtract. 70 minus 50 equals 20. Therefore, 50 plus 20 equals 70. This number right here needs to be 20. Because 50 plus 20 will make 70. You see that? That 50 plus that 20 will make the 70. So now we're almost there. Now we just need to take and figure out what goes here. Well, keep in mind, we're multiplying by 5. 5 times some number needs to equal 20. So 5 times what number equals 20? Well, 5, 10, 15, 20. 5 times 4 equals 20. And so this portion right here is 4. And now we almost have our final answer. So let's think this through. Our final answer is 10 plus 4 equals 14. So 5 times 14 equals 70. And therefore, 70 divided by 5 equals 14. I'm going to show it to you breaking it down using these equations right here. We know that 5 times 14 better equals 70. And let's double check. 5 times 10 plus 4 equals the same as 5 times 10 plus 5 times 4. 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 4 is 20. 50 plus 20 is 70. So 70 divided by 5 equals 14. Therefore, 5 times 14 equals 70. Now, how do we get those numbers again? Keep in mind, we started with changing the division problem into multiplication problem, taking our single number and putting it here, and thinking, we need to multiply by 10, or multiple of 10. 5 times 10 is 50. Altogether, it needs to equal 70. So 70 minus 50 equals 20, or 50 plus 20 equals 70. 5 times 4 equals 20. And then we added the 10 plus the 4 to get the 14. Let's try another problem. See, so you can see our answers. Ours is a little bit more detailed than theirs. Now let's try another one. Let's try number 3. I'm just going to turn the paper over. 2. I'm just going to turn the paper over a little, and hopefully it doesn't get too confusing when I do that. Let's do 96 divided by 6 equals blank. The first step is to change into multiplication problem. And if you're having trouble with that, on the side, just do 12 divided by 3 equals 4. 3 times 4 equals 12. So that you know 96 divided by 6 equals blank. And 6 times blank equals 96. So now that we have our multiplication problem, we could start our distributive box. We know that in the distributive box, the single digit goes on the left side. And we're going to multiply by 10 again. If we do 6 times 10, we get 60. If we do 6 times 20, we get 6 times 2 is 12, and add 1 0, 120. We want the answer to be 96. 6 times 20 is too much, so we're not going to use it. We're going to use the fact 6 times 10 equals 60. 6 times 10. 6 times 10 equals 60. Okay, 6 times 10 equals 60. Now the other thing we know is that this number plus this number needs to equal this number. So 60 plus what number equals 96? If you don't know, then you can subtract. 96 minus 60 equals 36. 0 plus 6 is... So this number needs to be 36, because 60 plus 36 better equal our 96. We got 60 by doing 6 times 10 equals 60. We got the 6 from over here. Now we need to ask ourselves, 6 times what number equals 36? 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. So we know that 6 times 6 equals 36. Therefore, this number right here, this one is the 10. This one is the 6. Now we just do 10 plus 6 equals 16. So this answer is 16. And to show our work, we could break it down. 6 times 16 equals 6 times 10 plus 6. And then we could say 6 times 10 plus 6 times 6. 60 plus 36, 96. So all we're really doing is multiplying by 10, by multiple of 10, solving that, taking our total and subtracting it to figure out what we have left over, and saying this times what number makes what's left over, and then doing that. I'm going to do one more because I don't love the way I explained it. And if you have any questions, you could ask me or slow it down and rewind this video. let's do one last one, and hopefully this one I'll explain it the best. I'm running out of space, so I'm going to use the back side of this now. I'm going to do 85 divided by 5. For 85 divided by 5, we're going to change it into a multiplication problem. And we're going to say, in case you don't know, 12 divided by 3 equals 4. And that's the same as 3 times 4 equals 12. So 5 times blank equals 85. Okay? Now once you get that, we're going to put it into our distributive property box chart thing. I'm going to take the single digit 5 and put it on the side. And we're going to say 5 times a number in the tens plus its ones will equal 85. So let's try to multiply some of the tens out. 5 times 10 equals 50. 5 times 2, 20. 5 times 2 is 10. With 1 extra 0 is 100. And we only have 85. So 5 times 10 works because it's less than 85. 5 times 20 does not work because it's more than 85. So 5 times 10 equals 50. 5 times 10. 5 times 10 equals 50. So, slow it down a little. 85 divided by 5 equals blank is the same as saying 5 times blank equals 85. When we see this, we know that the 5 will go here, and we'll multiply by certain 10. So we could do 5 times 10 equals 50, and we could try the next multiple of 10. 5 times 20 equals 100. 100 is too much, because in the product you only have 85, and here you have 100, you don't have enough for that. So we're going to use 5 times 10 equals 50. Now keep in mind that this number plus this number needs to equal this number. So you're going to ask yourself, 50 plus what number equals 85? Oops, I already gave the answer. Or 85 minus 50 equals what number? 35. So 50 plus 35 will equal this 85 right here. The most important part is that you understand how to get this number. So you get that number by doing 85 minus 50. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit, Grandma. Okay. Sorry about that. So you could do 85 minus 50 equals 35. And that's the key part. If you understand how to get this 35, you're golden. Now the last step that's a little tricky is to keep in mind, to solve this, you're doing this 5 right here. 5 times what number equals 35? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 5 times 7 equals 35. So this is 7 right here. This is 5 times 10. This is 5 times 7. So your final answer is 10 plus 7 equals 17. 5 times 17 equals 85. Or 85 divided by 5 equals 17. 5 times 17 equals 85. Or 85 divided by 5 equals 17. To show our work, to do our equations out, we know 5 times 17 is the same as saying 5 times 10 plus 7, because 17 is the same as 10 plus 7. And you could say 5 times 10 and 5 times 7. 5 times 10, 5 times 7, 5 times 17. And therefore, 5 times 10 is 50. 7 times 5 is 35, which altogether equals 85. Alright, I hope that this helps. If not, we can start doing some problem solving. And then you can ask me questions later. Okay, now that we hopefully have an understanding of how to use multiplication in the distributive property to solve a division problem, let's try using that with word problems. Ken is making gift bags for a party. He has 64 colored pens and wants to put the same number in each bag. How many bags will Ken make if he puts 4 pens in each bag? Because this is a word problem, I do want you to start with the part whole relationships picture box, the boxes. So, if you know a total, the total will go on top, the total of something. So we're going to read this again to see if there's a total. If so, it'll go on top. If not, you'll put an X. Ken is making gift bags for a party. He has 64 colored pens and wants to put the same number in each bag. How many bags will Ken make if he puts 4 pens in each bag? So here we know there is a total. Altogether, he has 64 pens. And what he wants to do is he wants to distribute it or make it into smaller groups. So, now that we know that there are 64 pens total, you need to figure out the next part of it. We're either going to have 4 boxes, or there's going to be 4 inside each box. So let's figure out what that 4 represents. How many bags will Ken make if he puts 4 pens in each bag? If he's putting 4 pens in each bag, then one box is representing bag 1. The second box is representing bag 2. Now here it says, how many bags will Ken make if he puts 4 pens in each bag? That's telling you, this is bag, I don't know. This is your X. This is what you're trying to find out. You don't know what bag number this is. But you do know that inside the first bag, what is he doing? Ken make if he puts 4 pens in each bag. In bag 1, he's putting 4 pens. In the second bag, he wants to be fair to all his guests, so he's going to put 4 pens. In the last bag, I don't know how many bags you'll need, but it'll be 4 pens. So here you could see that you're starting with 64, and you could subtract 4 because you're taking 4 and putting it into a bag. Subtract another 4, put it into a bag. Subtract another 4, put it into a bag until you run out. Or repeated subtraction is the same thing as division. So instead of saying 64 minus 4 minus 4 all the way until you hit 0 and count how many times you subtracted 4, you could do 64 divided by 4 equals what? And some of you guys might know how to divide this in terms of doing 64 divided by 4, but they don't want you to do that in that method. They do want you to use the distributive property. So I'm going to get you started with the distributive property, but I'm not going to show you all the way. So if we're using the distributive property to figure this out, we're going to look at that 4 and your quotient, which is your answer. Know that 4 times your quotient should equal your dividend. Okay. Your divisor times your quotient should equal your dividend. So 4 times this will equal 64. Now when we're doing the distributive property boxes, we're going to put the single digit, the 4, over here. And we're going to multiply it by multiples of 10 until you get to 64 without going close to 64 without going over. So 4 times 10 equals 40. 4 times 20 equals 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 1 0, 80. Since we have only 64 pens, 4 times 20 is not possible. You cannot have 20 bags because you need 80 pens, for then you only have 64. So we know we have at least 10 bags and then some. 4 times 10 equals 40. And we know that these pens that we have so far plus these pens over here better equal 64. So you're going to ask yourself, 40 plus what number equals 64? Or if you don't know, 64 minus 40 equals 24. So this number right here equals 24 because 40 plus 24 equals 64. And last but not least, you're going to multiply. 4 times what number will equal 24? And that's the number that goes here. So 4 times what equals 24? That's the number that goes there. And this right here, when you add them together, will be your final answer. Don't forget to show the steps of the distributive property on the side as well. Alright, I hope that helps. Go ahead and look at numbers 1, 2, and 3 if you're a little stuck, and ask me any questions tomorrow. Okay, now I'm on number 11. Maritza is buying wheels for her skateboard shop. She ordered a total of 92 wheels. If wheels come in packages of 4, how many packages will she receive? So again, we're going to start with a part whole. So, picture box, where the total is going to go on the top if there is a total. If not, you're going to put X to represent that's what we're looking for. Maritza is buying wheels for her skateboard shop. She ordered a total of 92 wheels. So they already told you that there's 92 wheels total. Now what's happening to all of these wheels is that they're going to come in packages of 4. How many packages will she receive? So here's the first box. And the first box is going to represent package 1. The second box is going to be package 2. And then they're going to keep going and going. How many packages do we have total? What does it say here? If wheels come in packages of 4, how many packages will she receive? By asking how many packages will she receive, that's telling us that we don't know how many packages there are. There's not 4 packages. We don't know how many packages there are. That's the question mark. That's the X that we're trying to solve. But we do know that if wheels come in packages of 4, they're saying that package number 1 has 4 wheels. Package number 2 has 4 wheels. Package number 3 has 4 wheels. And so what this company is doing is they have 92 wheels that they need to sell, that they're selling. And they took 4 wheels at a time. Minus 4, put in one package. 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 And you can subtract 92 minus 4, minus 4, minus 4, minus 4, until you get to 0. And you can count how many times you subtracted 4. Or repeated subtraction is 92 divided by 4. Now keep in mind we're using the distributive property, so we're going to turn this into a multiplication statement. Dividend divisor. Our divisor multiplied by our quotient will give us our dividend. So the 4 times the thing we were trying to find out will equal 92. When we put it into the distributive box to help us, we're going to put the 4 on the side here. And we're going to multiply by a multiple of 10. And so let's try 4 times 10, and we'll see 40. 4 times 2, 20, 4 times 2 is 8 with 1 0. So 4 times 20 is 80. Let's do one more. 4 times 30. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 0 is 120. Now we have 92 wheels total. If we do 4 times 10 equals 40, it's not close enough to 90. If we do 4 times 20 equals 80, that's closer to 90. And if we do 4 times 30 equals 120, that's too much. We don't have that many wheels. And so 4 times 20 gets us closest to 92 without going over. Keep in mind we have 92 wheels. So if you only have 10, you're only going to have you've only used 40 wheels. If you do 4 times 20, you've used 80 wheels. So here, this is going to be one of our first times where we put 4 times 20. 4 times 20 is 80. And we know that this plus this better equal this. So 80 plus what number equals 92? And if you don't know, you can subtract. 92 minus 80 equals 12. So 80 plus 12 equals 92. All you have to do to solve is say 4, that's this number right here, times what number will give us that 12. 4 times what number gives us 12? Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you know what to do from here. Don't forget to write the equations on the steps on the side. Have a good day.